If I had a siren here, I would have that on for you right now, because it's literally going in to a client environment with flashing lights and jingle bells all over there. What?
Yeah,
I know that probably hits the next question. Biggest InfoSec fail. Every user was a DA.
yeah.
If you want a hoodie, right, comment on this video and you're going to be a black hat, I will give you a hoodie. If I see you in black hat and you've commented below, I will give you a hoodie. Hello and welcome back to RedTeamRaw, a video podcast series providing you raw insight into cybersecurity experts and their adversarial mindset. These experts have not only walked the walk, but have shaped the industry in some way. They're now sharing their offensive TTTs, tips, tricks, and techniques to help motivate and inspire the next generation of cybersecurity professionals. I'm your host, Manit Saib, a fellow Red Teamer and social engineer. My background is the former Red Team lead for the UK Central Bank, where I use defensive techniques to protect the UK's payment and gold systems. I'm now the Director of Global Intelligence at Picnic Security, a company protecting against social engineering attacks. So once again, who's this series for? Well, if you're considering breaking into cybersecurity, an experienced professional looking for your next step, or a general cybersecurity enthusiast, then this series will take you on an exclusive journey into the attacker mindset. Today, we are joined by a Red Team expert. He's the head of Red Teaming at Eurofins Cybersecurity here in the UK. He's also a very good friend and an inspiration for those looking to fast track their journey in cybersecurity. Ladies and gents, please give a warm welcome to the one and only Dhruv Bisiani. Hey, Dhruv, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing well. It's been a while since we're trying to get you on here.
Yeah, I know.
I know you're living the Red Team life, traveling the world, breaking stuff.
Yeah, it's been a few busy week, but we're here finally. So yeah, no, happy to be here.
Cool. So I did like a small intro for yourself. Why don't you kick it off and do an intro and maybe go into a little bit more depth for those who don't know you?
Yeah, no, for sure. So everyone listening to the podcast, welcome to the podcast. I'm Dhruv Bisiani. I head the Red Team function for Eurofins Cybersecurity. So I essentially look after anything and everything that has to do with Red Team. So it includes from supporting the sales team, training the team member, delivering the project, PMO, helping the client, and anything after that as well. Essentially anything that has to do with adversarial attack simulation, so red, purple, and whatever custom needs to be done. Been in the industry for just over 7 years, I think now. Started as a sysadmin in my internship here at the uni. Worked at the same company as a pen tester. Moved to PwC, where me and Manit actually worked together for 3 years. Well, I was there for 3 years, but we worked together for just under a year or so. And then he left me alone there, and he moved on to some big roles. I was there for 3 years, and then I moved to a more sort of leadership role at Eurofins, while I do sort of 50-50. I think it's a bit of management, bit of leadership, and a bit of technical, sort of still doing Red Team delivery kind of stuff. Yeah, that's essentially me.
So you talked Red Team, pen testing, purple teaming. We're going to jump into those slightly later.
Mm-hmm.
But what's a day in a life for you at the moment? Because one of the things that has been challenging for us doing this is because you're always traveling, you're living the jet setter life. It's very difficult for you to be in one place. So
Yep.
For all the viewers and listeners, what is a day in a life of a Red Teamer, especially like working for a UK consultancy?
Yep. I think my day is a little bit different than everyone in my team. Because I do a lot more than just red teaming. I'm involved with sales. I'm involved with pre-sales calls, scoping calls, planning calls. So my day could go anywhere from being on call for 7 hours to being in a client office doing a closed down meeting to doing sort of a full day of technical. If I'm lucky, I would get like a day doing just technical work. So it's quite varied. I think it starts with sort of the first half an hour of my day is almost reserved for the team. So we have a daily stand-up where we catch up on all the ongoing project, what the progress looks like, and just what's the plan for today, what everyone going to be working on, and so on and so forth. Then the morning starts with some client call. Usually it's sort of either going to be a client update call, sales call, or just sort of a scoping call with the client who's looking to do Red Team but doesn't know what exactly works for them or not. So do a little bit of that, and then try and fit in some time in the diary for doing some technical work. And then a little bit of team management as well. So I might be doing a one-on-one, might be having a chat with one of the team member who's not feeling well, or doing interview for the team and so on. And then a little part of my day goes in sort of PMO kind of action. So looking at budget, revenue, progress made it all project, and all of these, businessy stuff that I actually, never did until my current role. So that's quite a bit sort of new phase that I'm getting used to now. But yeah, it could be a combination
Yeah.
of these four things.
So from the outside, you hear talk about, hey, you break all this stuff, and I was like, yeah, it's cool, but especially what you said, like when you're going into a red team position, there's so many other activities that the day you get technical work, you're like, yes,
Yeah,
I've got something other to do than the general management, PMO, and like logistics type of stuff. And it's also the management of engagements, QAing, like junior reports, things like that.
yeah, 100%. I think Red Team looks a lot different from outside than it is from inside. 100%. I think people. I think everyone thinks it's just that one black screen, green text behind the computer, but you don't realize how much effort it goes to get to that point. Even when I recently had a new sort of a senior pen tester move into a red team quite recently, and one of the things he said sort of made me laugh, which was he thought that all we did was like fun stuff. He heavily underestimated how much effort goes in to make a phishing campaign, from buying a domain to doing your recon to category, all of this like small tasks that you don't
Putting
see.
the time into OPSEC, right?
I
So
exactly.
yeah,
Um,
maybe
it's
you want to define that for those who don't even know what OPSEC is. What is
op-
OPSEC and what is your OPSEC, Drew?
OPSEC is essentially operational security. So it's just making sure that you don't get caught for doing something stupid. So it's just kind of making sure you're covering your ground, because especially when red team, you sort of impersonate a hacker. So you need to make sure you hide yourself well enough. And when you say making sure my OPSEC is good, is essentially saying that making sure we've got all the grounds covered where possible, and we're not leaking any information which can be used by the blue team or the client to figure out this is not a real hacker, and it's or can also um, sort of help them to not track us back, kind of thing. So just everything that you can do to hide yourself better is essentially OPSEC. What is my OPSEC? I think there's a lot of things. It depends on the project, the project you're doing, the type of activity you're trying to perform, and so on. I think the best advice I give to the team is every action is cross-checked by another team member whatsoever. And it is reviewed by me before the launch. That's the normal logic we
That
go.
is brilliant advice.
Yeah,
I'm sure it goes without saying, double checking, four eyes in what you're doing.
exactly. Yeah. So I think I can speak a little bit about what sort of the structure we work with. So every
Yeah.
red team we do, we have what we call is a combination approach. So we got one senior and one junior, and everything is cross-checked by them. So if the senior doing something, the junior is going to verify it, and when junior does something, the senior is going to verify it. And before the launch, I'll verify it. So when I say my day looks like doing technical stuff, I usually get to do the most boring part of the technical stuff, which is make sure the OPSEC is correct, and so on,
Make
while
sure you're not
everyone does.
shooting yourself in the foot.
I mean, it is it may not sound the most exciting, but it is the most important part as well. You're only as good as your OPSEC, right? So that's definitely is the most important part of the
So
job as well. Yes, 9 out of 10 times you would have done it correct, but it's only take you that one time to mess up your whole project, kind of thing.
100K down the drain, right? For
Yeah,
the
I know,
client.
right? And we all have been there, right? End of the day, we are human. No, no one is a machine. We all are human. We all have bad days. We all have days when we are tired and make silly mistake. I don't know who, I don't know if there's anyone we say is 100% perfect. So we all can make mistake. So it's better to verify it. I think one thing that has helped us a lot is we try and automate a lot of things where possible. So we have a lot of small script that runs in the background on an hourly basis that helps the team to verify their OPSEC. So it's some, some of the stuff is very, very stupid. So we have an internal application, for example, which tracks all our domain. Then we have a script that runs every hour and checks the categorization of that domain and see if it's been categorized or not, and if it's
Oh man, that is awesome. Doing, you mentioned that you're growing the team, so this could be a plug for anyone looking to get into the red
100%.
team.
Yeah, 100%. Growing the team, hiring in the UK and India as of now. Anyone looking for a role, reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you know Manit personally, he has my number. More than happy to have a discussion. And anyone who wants to know how to start or move from Pentest to Red Team as well, we are always happy to have discussion. We have the clubhouse room as well, so join that on every Thursday, or whenever we do it now.
Every other Thursday now.
Every
Since
other
you're
Thursday, because we all have been busy lately.
we're still working. We're not full-time content creators, right?
Yeah, but you never know. Never know. Maybe in future.
You're on a visa at the moment, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
one of the biggest questions I used to get at my former place, because they had, clearance or whatever it was, there was always this perception that if you were international,
Yep.
that you would never get a job in the UK, never get a job for this
Yeah.
company. And you are living proof that that is not the case. So I know we have like probably international listeners on here that are like, oh, a UK job, and you've got a job going at the moment, might be
Yep.
completely out of my scope because I haven't got the same profile as other people. So
Yep.
why don't we take us through your journey, how you got that kind of sponsorship and what you're doing up till now?
Yeah, no, 100%. So yeah, that's probably one of the most asked question to me still, when I go to unis and speak with the student, especially, coming from international student, like how do we get the sponsorship? And there's a big perception of, if you need sponsorship and you need visa, you're not gonna get a job. I think for me, so I came to the UK in 2013. And I think within maybe the first or second month, I would have told like 20 times that you're not gonna get a job. And I very much understood that this is not going to be a easy thing. And the more I spoke with some of the current students at my uni, or especially people from India who have come over, and are like looking for a job now, and I understood is, I think for international student, when you go in an interview, you essentially start with a downside, right? That the company needs to sponsor your visa. Firstly, I think there's limited company that sponsor visa, so your options are quite limited in the first place. And even out of the ones that do, if when you go to the interview, you need to justify why the company is going to pay 2,000 or 3,000 pounds extra for you when they can have someone for sort of 3K less at a similar skill level. And I think the thing that really stuck to me in the first year is whenever I go in the interview, I have to give them something extra. I have to be the maybe not the best one, but I have to have something that other people can't offer. And Manoj, you did my PwC interview, right? And hopefully you can vouch for it. As I ended up getting the job in end. But it was the mindset was, do something different and be something, have something that other people can't offer. And I really realized that quite early in the uni. And what that did was I spoke to my professor a lot, and I was like, what can I get involved in what other students are not doing? And I got involved in a lot of unpaid research. So while a lot of my friends were going back to India or wherever they're coming from in summer for 4 months, I was still in UK. I was working for a professor. I wasn't getting paid a penny. But the thing that I had in my mind is I can put this on my CV. And I got to do some really cool projects. I worked on a project for my uni in collaboration with London Met Police. I worked one with European Union, and I really didn't get it. It wasn't about the money. It was the experience I got, the things I can talk about in interviews, and put down on my CV. And this was the thing that other students didn't have when I went for the interview. And I think that was the best. That was the best decision I had made. Looking back now.
I can vouch. I mean, we did the interview at PwC, so yeah, and it was your hunger. You can actually tell, and if you're listening to this, you can tell like there isn't a moment in there where you're like, hey, I was pissing around, or
Yeah.
whatever. People might go and do other things extracurricular with their other time, but the key thing I noticed about you is you have that proactiveness. You're so hungry for it, and you're going out, and it's not even paid. You're going out, you're doing things, you're learning, and this is the fundamental thing with offensive security in particular. You need to know a lot of the technologies to understand how to break them. A quick intro into the definition of pen testing and red teaming from a UK standpoint.
Yeah. So for me, pen testing is doing a security review of one particular thing, one or a defined set of assets. And you're not trying to hide yourself. It is just find everything you possibly can find about one website, one laptop, one company infrastructure, or a set of laptop, a set of servers, or find every weakness you possibly can for one thing, or one category of things. Um, Red Team is more of a holistic approach on reviewing a company's overall position on how well they can defend, detect, and respond against a cyber attack. So it is essentially saying how well do the people, process, and technology come together to stop and fight against a hacker trying to hack the company. It is limited to the you might have some limitation to the scope of it, but it's not limited to just one website. It's company as a whole that you're trying to analyze, not just one thing. And the other side is, you are trying to hide yourself. The company, several people in the company don't know this is happening, and you're essentially impersonating a real life hack. You're just one of the good guys trying to help the company become more secure. And I think that's what I see the biggest difference between a red team and a pen testers.
And there is a scope, because as some people say, there isn't a scope, and I can go to someone's house and do whatever I
No,
want
we,
in
we
the
have
house.
had that chat on Clubhouse.
So I'm glad that you said that, and also in line with compliance. Normally in the UK, when you're conducting a red team, you're guided by the threat intelligence. So
Yep.
based on your industry, based on your organization, who are the threat actors that are looking to target you? What are the TTPs techniques that they're using to conduct this attack? And you, as the red team, try and emulate those to ensure that you have realistically played out that adversary in your environment.
Yep.
I don't know if you want to jump in at that, and like why is threat intelligence so important? Let's go there.
Yeah, no, that's I actually very recently had a very, very interesting conversation with a ex-colleague slash sort of client recently, right? And we were talking the same thing. Why do threat intel if you're not a compliant body? So when you do for compliance reasons, so if you're doing a CBEST for a bank, GBEST, NBEST, whichever best you're doing, and it's been defined by a regulatory body, you don't really have a choice. You have to do it because that's what you need to pass the regulation. But why should companies start doing threat intel without when they're not regulated? And honestly, I was very against that when I started the conversation. Right, like I said, no, they shouldn't really be doing this. They should be doing what makes more sense to them, what is more worrying, what is their biggest nightmare. We should try and emulate that. But so he's a very, very close colleague and a friend, ex-colleague and a friend, who is a sort of security information security head for a company. And I think his point of view, which kind of is now my point of view, is cyber attack is a very, very big ground to cover. There's unlimited ways to get into a company, from external attack to supply chain to physically breaking in, phishing. It's just too many different ways that you can get into the company, right? And in reality, what you could do is you can pay a red team or a company, say you pay £500,000 and say try each one of them. But no one is going to do that. That's just not realistic. Companies are not going to have a budget to do that. So instead, saying let's perform a red team against my organization and get into the company by hook or crook, I think organization needs to start doing a little bit more on, let's try and cover it based off a threat intel report, because then you are emulating or simulating attackers that are morally kind of targeting your organization. Yes, there's a slim chance that they could, there could be some other attacker group or an APT that is targeting your company, which is not a very big, or it could be just one person doing it who doesn't shows up in a threat intel report. But 90% of your attack, or not even 90, but a very significant part of attack that you see as an organization are gonna be based off that threat intel report. So if you can cover that ground, you have a good coverage, rather than saying get into my company physically breaking in, but that's not what your threat intel report says. So you're not really, you're more likely to go by phishing or an external attack as based off a threat intel, but you don't have any visibility if you don't do that. So I think that conversation did help me see that side of the story from his perspective. He's a red teamer who has changed to a blue team now, and it's quite interested to have a lot of these sort of high level conversation with him. And I was like, actually, that's a really valid point. Never thought about it. Sort of thing. I think as red teamer, we have a tendency of I just want to go and hack into this company sort of thing. But the question we need to ask is, what is the most value added service to this client? And I genuinely think one of the reasons we have been so successful as a team is one thing I always say to every client I've worked with or spoken with is, I'm not interested if we hack into you or not. I'm interested in what is the way we can add most value to you. And if that means we need to get detected to just test your detection, so be it. But it's more about adding value, not just waving a flag and saying we got domain admin. Because yeah, that's the fun of the game, and that's why we all love doing this. That feeling when you get domain admin in a company is amazing. But you're not doing it for that. You're actually doing to make client better, right?
And this is a good segue into purple teaming, because purple teaming more and more, and I'm seeing on LinkedIn now, is gaining more traction. And we've been banging on
100%.
about this. And what, 2018, 2019 was my first presentation about going into purple teaming and why we should be doing purple teaming. Because
Yeah.
I suppose it's slightly different, because I was leading the red team at an internal red team, right? So for me, I always had conversations with the blue team and
Yeah.
talking about what detections they have. So it's kind of a mix mash between the purple team element as well. But I got over the element very quickly of, hey, I'm just doing it to F the network up. It was
Yeah.
more going, hey, I'm only doing this to improve you guys. So let me do what I need to do, because I'm going to give you a report at the end of it, and we can look at your detections or use cases and we can create new ones.
Yeah.
So I do think that this realm of purple teaming is going to start increasing, and there's going to be more purple teams being built up. Whereas at the moment, you're having your red team and your blue team doing their own things, then like maybe once a quarter coming together and doing something together. I do think now there's going to be a purple team created to fast track what's going on.
100%. I think purple team is definitely the next big thing we're gonna see in the industry. I think I think there's a lot of things to consider, right? I think red team has caught a lot. Red team has come a long way in last maybe year and a half, and I think that's purple team is the next logical way to go. I think more and more CISOs or information security manager, or whoever is in charge, has started understanding the value of red team in the last year and a half. And I think slowly, as you start understanding red team, the next step is you then understand the value of purple team, which is we have tested our security. Now let's get them to work with the internal team and make them more secure instead of giving the report. I think, and I think on the other part of the story is you see pen testers becoming more and more automated. A lot of the company have started running their own nesses and different tools that do internal audit or simulate a compromise, or whatever it may be.
Yeah,
um,
attack breach simulation
yeah,
is
so why
there's so
pay,
many. Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
so
was going
why,
to say, without plugging names of who they are.
yeah, I
Yeah,
was about to say a name and I was
yeah,
like, maybe I should not not plug anyone,
yeah.
because I
Unless you're
personally haven't
sponsoring them.
tested one. So
So I have been through all of them.
okay.
Um, some of them are really good. It's very varied, and you have to have a specific use case, because some are more
Yeah.
tailored towards control. So what are the controls that I'm testing?
Yeah.
Um, and some of them are more focused around the actual red team. So like you said about pen testing, what can I find?
Yeah.
But the focus around the purple team is the most effective, I
Yep.
believe. I think the challenge at the moment is getting those skills with both red and blue to create this team, and the willingness for individuals on either side to be like, hey, I want a view of both now.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. I think, one of the big part of purple team is you fix stuff or you create new rule for detection and so on and so forth, right? And having the motivation to actually putting in the effort to fix or change stuff is a big thing. So there's no point of doing a purple team if you're actually not going to do anything about the result. If your blue team is just going to sit and listen in, it's not really a purple team at that point. I've done a couple of purple team in the last year, and I've seen, from both end. I've been with clients where we have done, red, purple, red kind of approach. So we did a red team, found some key weaknesses, did a purple team after that to address that, and give them like a list of things that they can do to detect some of the basic stuff and fix some of the basic stuff. Did a red team again, and it was worse than the first red team. And I was like, how is that even possible? I completely get the organization and the industry they are in. It's really hard to make changes, and I appreciate that. But we're in a time where cybersecurity should be in top of the agenda. Now, there's a different question if it is or it's not, and I'm sure each CEO has their own set of reason why it is or why it is not. So I'm not, I can't really say because I'm not in that shoes. Um, and I've been on the other spectrum where I've done red team and purple team, and we've gone back to do a red team, and we have struggled really, really much. We just finishing up one engagement where the first time we completely destroyed the client. We went on site after that for 30 days, did a really good job. Really actually enjoyed working with the client because they were so switched on, making changes. The whole IT team was sitting with us for like a couple of days. We did a lot of like security awareness for IT as well. We went back and we've got further ahead. We had to use a shortcut and stuff like and fast forward point and things like that. But we really struggled. We honestly really struggled. And I was saying this to the team yesterday, in fact, when we were just about to finish up and start writing the report. Is I'm so happy that we struggled because then we have made a difference. Instead of it was equally easy, that means we actually haven't done anything over the last two projects that we did with them. It's almost a good thing that we struggle, and it proves that the client has progressed to us as to where they were when they started working with us, sort of thing.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
proves that people like us work.
yeah, 100%. Um, but no, it's definitely gonna, and I don't see Red Team go anywhere. They both serve a completely different purpose.
I 100% agree. Like red teaming is not going anywhere. You need it for compliance. You need it for the regulator. You need that independent assurance
Yeah,
that you are secure.
yeah,
So yeah, that maybe I should have said that. External people, like consultancies like yourself, definitely still need to be doing red teaming for clients.
yeah,
From the client side, they should be building an internal purple team to help them.
100,
So think of it as like an MOT for your car, right? So your
100%.
yearly MOT, whatever it is that the external consultancy comes in, but internally you're checking the air filter, you're checking the oil. Like every time you're doing that, it should be something internal. You shouldn't be going out and paying an
Yeah,
external consultancy to do that. So yeah, they both serve a very different purpose.
yeah, 100%. I think internal team should be, and I think a lot of the clients I speak to are getting there. I think the overall, and I speak. I think depending on the industry and the country you speak with, you see the difference. I do work with like quite a bit of global sort of clients, and I think UK is one of the most mature market that I work in, and you can definitely see the difference. But I think within UK specifically, Purple Team is definitely getting more and more common. Clients are getting the value and understanding why they should be doing that and willing to invest in that. And I think other countries will follow in due time. It's just it just takes time, I guess.
Why don't you run through your whole shopping list of certs?
Not that
And
many, man.
I mean, CREST is like a very difficult one to have anyway. So why don't you go through that? What was your journey to get that? Let's like give the value out for people wanting to go in that direction. And CREST
Yeah.
is now in the States now. So yeah, CREST is
Nice.
taking over the world.
So we will have to go back to a little bit of the toxic side because I'm gonna talk a little bit about how that actually helped me to get some of my certs at the moment. So so first cert was naturally OSCP. I think anyone joining the industry highly recommend it. It's a really good place to start. Again, one of those cert which I highly recommend anyone who wants to start in the industry. We all talk about it. It's a great place to start if you're a junior and want to sort of get that instant level up in your skills. And honestly, their tagline "Try harder" is what it's all about. You really get into that mindset of understand and getting used to that mindset. You know,
I literally have that behind me. I literally
yeah,
have a board. Try harder, right?
definitely,
And I second that. OSCP. It wasn't just the infosec or cybersecurity skills that it brought me. It was the journey to actually achieve it. Everything I do in my life now is the same mindset behind it, the same
yeah,
motto: try harder. So
hundred
sorry,
percent.
I'll let you continue.
No, no, that's completely fine. No, 100%. I think it gives you this, and yeah, it just gives you a little bit of a mindset, and gives a very good intro to what ethical hacking looks like, right? So I did that, and then I didn't do any cert for next year or so. I started working at Bisani, and that's when I did my CCT app. So that is a really interesting story, and I remember this. So one of my first interaction with this person in charge was I spoke with him. We had a bit of like introduction on like what my background is, what I've been doing, and one of the things I said to him was I would love to get involved with internal testing, purely because I've been doing a lot of API and web testing for 2 years, and I couldn't go on site because I was a student. I had to still go classes, and it just didn't work out with the time. But now that I'm into a full time job, I would love to get that exposure. Um, and at that time, internal testing was seen a bit of a luxury. It's something you give for people who love traveling and stuff like that. So I didn't go a single internal job for the first year and a half at the company, and not because I wasn't good enough. Again, it was purely because the person didn't like me. But and I could have sat there, I could have mopped about it, and so right. The way I did was, I told myself, you know what? Actually, I've done so many app testing. So if this person is gonna just give me app testing, I'm just gonna go and do CCT app. That was never the plan. I never actually thought I'll do CCT app. But just because I had done so much and this person was pushing me out into app tests one after the other, I was like, you know what, let me just make use of this situation I've got here. And I've become so, and if you have done CCT, we all know it's a lot about the speed and doing it really quickly. And I was churning out app testers like every week a new app. That's all I was doing.
I
Quite
wish I could see
monotonous.
his face when you came back with CCT app.
I know. I was at least at the time in the company, I was one of the youngest one to hold it. And it purely came with he put me in a situation where he thought he's kind of putting me in a difficult place, making my life really boring. But I was like, I'm gonna make use of it and find some positive twist to it, which was I'm gonna go and do CCT app. That's what I did. And what that did was that put a little bit of a statement out that an associate has CCT, and people's perspective towards me changed a little bit. And you know how the industry is. Everyone knows that once you get CCT, you're seen quote unquote elite. I'm not claiming I'm one. I'm just saying that's the perspective that we have, sort of
Mate, you
thing.
are. I'm telling you.
That's a different thing. But I'm just saying that changes the perspective. Um, and that was actually my way to do a lot of red team. So I actually, in my career, I've done a very few internal pen tests. But what I did was at the time red team lead, because I was one of the youngest and the lowest grade holding CCT, I was very cheap as a resource, right? And I remember having this conversation with the red team lead at the time in the company, saying we we didn't do a lot of application abuse for our red team. So I was like, you know what, I've got CCT, I know what I'm doing. Can I get an opportunity in a red team to do so? And naturally, all the red teamers were at the time CCT in CSAS, SAM, but there was no CCT. I think actually there was one CCT app, but it was a senior manager or a manager, so it was quite expensive, right? So it was really easy for me now to move from app testing to red teaming directly because I'm really cheap as a resource.
So when you say cheap resource for everyone out there listening, it's because of the grade that you are at currently, right? And so as a senior associate, you are billed out to a client at X amount and you
Yeah.
have this skill. But
Yeah.
the other guy with the same skill is a senior manager. So there's manager above that, and then he's there. So
Yeah.
his time chargeable to this client will be a lot more. So just for clarity, that when you're saying cheaper resource, it's
Yeah.
there because you have the skill set. You've basically stormed them by your certification and said, "Hey guys, like I don't need to be a senior manager. I can do this at a senior
No,
associate
that
level."
wasn't the aim. I was just trying to do, I was
Egg on
trying
your
to make
face.
something out of the situation I was in. And to be
Yeah.
fair, I was an associate, and the other person was a senior manager, so the gap was huge. My 1 day's rate card would be an hour rate card for him, kind of, or something on those lines. So it was, I could be on Red Team and be really, really less expensive, I guess you can say, if you don't want to use like cheap resource as a word. And that was my intro to Red Team. And touch wood, the first few went really well. And essentially, that's what I ended up doing. So I ended up doing Red Team back to back. Really go along with the person. Ended up actually taking over the sysadmin role in the company as well. So managing the infrastructure that the whole team used to perform this Red Team or any pen test actually at that point as well. So that was like a good way to get into infrastructure testing. And the next year and a half, all I did was Red Team back to back. And then I did so many that I was like, okay, this is time. I'll go and get my CCT INF, which is what I actually wanted to do initially. So I went out and got the CCT INF, and that was my third cert. In between, I did a few other, Azure and bits and bobs of random certs. Well, I wouldn't say random, but bits and bobs in a few other certs like Azure and CRTE, which is the Red Team certified expert by Pentester Academy and so on. But specifically with CREST, I did app and then INF. Then I changed my role, came to the current company, started leading Red Teams a lot more, and found the time and space to say I'm going to sit and prepare for SAS, which is CREST Certified Similar Attack Specialist.
They need to
Um,
shorten these flipping titles, man.
it's too many certs, man. Too many certs. Um, so yeah, I just did that when I quite early when I joined this company in the first like 6 months or so, and that was partly because I wanted to get the star accreditation by CREST, and one of the requirement for that is to have someone who has SAS as a certificate in your team. We already had one guy who has it, and I wanted to make sure you know I think it's also sort of lead by an example situation where if I'm heading a team and I've got a SAS reporting back to me, and to be fair, he never actually said it. I don't think he even thought the fact that we never felt that I need to have that certificate to prove my skills or anything. But I thought it would be just nice to have that. And it's also one of those things is the top of CREST. I wanted to do it once, say I've done it. I may not do it again. Uh,
Get the badge.
it's one of those things.
Satisfy
You've
the
done it once.
regulator.
Exactly. My CCT app is actually expired, and I actually don't know if I'm going to do it again or not. But yeah, it's just one of those things. And yeah, that's so far I think my sort. I've done a few other here and there.
Sam on the
Main
cards.
no for me. Actually, I'll take that back. Never say never. I may do it, may not. I don't have any intention to do it as of now. Partially because I just don't have the time to prepare for it at all. In the next 6 months, I'm sure we're gonna speak off camera, and you're gonna be up to date when I'm traveling. But I'm essentially away like 3 weeks a month for
Jet
the next six
setter.
months. Well, it is getting a bit tiring, but I am traveling a lot.
So
Just
I think that's a really good segue into like some war stories. So you're doing these engagements. Let's hit on, I don't know, let's hit on a red team that you would never forget. Basically, what happened?
ooh,
Talk us through it.
I'll have to think. All right, I'll tell you my coolest initial access and something that I'm not gonna ever forget. I think that's the so yeah, one of the first or second project that I did for my current place, a red team for a company. There's a global, God knows, it's like couple billion revenue. It's a huge company, and like any big company, they have unlimited amount of assets being open to the internet and so on and so forth. And the plan was to do a external compromise, get access to something, move internally, and then if we can't get anything externally, then do phishing, and move internally via that. And if that didn't work, then go and do fast forward and get a laptop or something, right?
Yeah.
So external
Okay.
attack. We start the assessment, me and some of the guys in the team. We enumerating the resource. The resource list is never ending. It just never ends. It's probably one of the highest number of resources I've seen for a company. So we did that, and the budget was quite tight on this project, to be honest. So we were very, very limited by days, and we basically spent all the days we had to actually do the external attack and identifying the resources, because there were just so many, and it was and it was quite hard for us to figure out which resource actually belonged to this client, which didn't, where to start attacking, and so on and so forth. Um, in that phase, we managed to compromise, I think, couple different external servers or websites, SQL
Nice.
injection, login creds, like all of these, but none of this actually landed us within the company, because none of this infrastructure actually was connected to the main AD environment.
Did they belong
And
to the client?
it did belong to the client, 120%. We
Okay.
verified before
Cool, cool,
every
cool.
every company or every asset that we attacked, but it wasn't getting us where we want. And it's
Yeah.
quite frustrating, because it's quite fun when you actually compromise external infrastructure. I think that's my favorite way to do it.
Yeah.
And we found like 4 or 5 different compromises. None of them, every time you get this like little hope, oh, this is gonna be it. Like this is how we're gonna get in the company. And then you're like, oh, this is also a standalone server sitting in some data center, and getting in the company. And I'm like, oh, I'll take that word out. And
It's
I'm
all right.
like,
We'll censor it. Don't worry.
and it's like, what the hell sort of thing. And I'm like, let's move to phishing.
So you've done the external part. You popped a few external facing assets. No room to laterally move into the core network,
Yeah.
and then you jump into phishing.
Yep, exactly. So we sent out some phishing campaign initially, didn't had much response, and this was also one of the first phishing campaign we did as a team. Then we were like, okay, this is also not landing us anywhere, right? Let's just skip 5 days of phishing done. We couldn't get anywhere, and I'm just sort of kind of concerned with time. We are already 60% over the mark, have no initial access, and one of the guys goes in the team, let's start sending out random calendar invites from a similar looking domain. And I was like, actually, that's a great idea if we do that. And you can send it to 2 people. You can send it to me and someone in the company, and we both will join the call. And I can act as if I'm someone in the company who knows that you belong to an IT function. So we build this fake trust, with the third person on the call, and so on and so forth. So we bought a very similar looking domain, put in like some domain like IT support dot something, send out 3 calendar invites, right? Got 3 people on the call. All 3 of them downloaded the payload. All 3 of them physically gave us the login credential, downloaded our payload, gave us the remote access to the laptop. We went ahead and created a scheduled task. I think that was the persistent we were using. That's completely like everything we were doing on the call was like there was no block. But the
Did they
reason
did
I'll
they help
never,
you? Did they help you troubleshoot as well?
yes,
Because
they
that is
did,
awesome.
they did. But one thing that I will never forget, right? This person on the call, we joined the call and we like send out a link and be like, oh, can you log into this similar looking login page to their company's email portal. And when they do, I think we were doing HTML smuggling, and we'll download like an exe that they could run. And they did it, and for whatever reason it popped a warning which none of the other users had on their browser. So clearly we were flagged, right? And this lady is like, oh, I see this red screen. And we go, and the person who was impersonating the ID is like, oh, can you share your screen and I'll try and help you. And the lady shared the screen, and we're like, oh, don't worry, we're having some issues with our IT system. We're working with Chrome or Google Chrome to fix it or something. He said like that.
It's
And
awesome when the user has so much trust that, like,
man,
you know,
it
you're
gets worse. It
literally
gets worse.
troubleshooting you execute malware on their endpoint.
It it got worse because the lady said, and I quote, "How do I know you're not a hacker trying to steal my laptops or like trying to steal my credential and gain access to my laptop or so?" And my guy just laughed it out, didn't respond to it, just went ha ha ha, and just continue doing what he was doing. And he's like,
Oh my god.
and I think I was on the call and I was like, do I need to be on this call? I have an important thing and stuff, and he's like, yeah, if you can. And I was impersonating as if I'm following the same step that this person is doing.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh yeah, my issue seems to be fixed. Thank you, blah blah blah. Close my laptop, and so and then the lady essentially was our initial point of access. Then got to the company and did that. And one of the other reasons that I really love this engagement is all the resource that we exploited in the external phase. Well, not a lot, not all of them, but major of the resources that we exploited in the internal phase actually came really handy when we became internal, because one of the things we did in the external phase was we exploited one website to do user enumeration. Very handy. The second website had this really it had some sort of like legacy protocol for OWA, I think, or exchange, which you can use to do account brute force. So we did like password spray for like 60,000 user. And at that time, it wasn't really useful because we couldn't really find where to use this, because everything had 2FA and user weren't actually doing anything. But once you went internal, you suddenly could go back and all of this effort you did. So the initial access was really hard. It took us maybe like 70% of our project time to get there. But once we got in, it took us 3 days.
You knew everything because your
Just
recon and your OSINT was so good, right?
exactly. So I
Oh,
think,
that is
and this
awesome.
is one of those projects which made me feel, as a team, we did like a real hacker. Like did few different things, took pieces of information from everywhere, impersonated something, got connected everything, and when then you present back to the client, the CEO was just mind blown. Like the CEO was like, "Whoa!" And I actually, this is one of my favorite projects of all time by far, I think.
That reminds me of the CRTE exam. I literally spent so long doing recon, enumeration, finding out, and it was just that one thing that gave initial access. After that, it was game over because you'd spent all that time doing recon.
Yeah,
Which is why recon and OSINT is so important.
hundred
But I
percent.
mean, that is amazing when users like literally offer to help you. Yeah.
It's amazing for us, not so not so amazing for the company. But again, I think
What did you say to them with the report?
I so it was quite a funny closed down meeting, right? Because SOC, was very defensive. Naturally, sometimes you get, some SOC are very accepting, some SOC are very defensive, and they were very defensive, and it was like it's user's fault and this and that. I was like, and I tried to explain this to the CEO, CISO, and the SOC head that user are always gonna click, no matter how secure you are. You always gotta have one person in the company. If the hacker tried enough, there's gonna be someone who clicks on something and runs something. It is your internal team's job to make sure that after that happens, either that is stopped on a technical level and it doesn't happen. So even if someone downloads an exe, they can execute an exe, or there are detections in place that if this happens, then you can stop it in some other manner. You cannot blame the user. I don't think as an industry we're ever going to solve phishing as an issue. I know there's a lot of fancy new tools coming out in place. I do think as an industry, or as a world, phishing is getting like people are getting a little bit more and more aware of it as well. So it's becoming a bit harder and harder. But there's always going to be one, and I think it's one of those things where, as Red Team, we can sometimes not test it properly because we have limited time, while attackers can, if the one campaign gets burned, they'll do second, third, fourth, fifth. They'll keep
Yeah, they
going if
can
they're
have 10
determined.
years on it, right? And
Exactly.
this is one of the reasons why industry has the methodology assume breach testing, because you're skipping the initial access part to getting in because you know that you're most likely are going to get in.
Yep.
And it's like, well, what happens after? Assume that there's a breach. What do you do? How do you get that guy or that threat actor out? Can you detect what they're doing? So
Yep.
yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, it was quite a fun SOC close down meetings. Um, yeah, no, it was, and it was just that passing that message that we don't provide the username or anything, or at least we won't provide in the official report. We provide it to SOC so they can go back and trace stuff and things like that.
Yeah.
But it was just passing that message. It's no user's fault. Like that is gonna happen. They're not technical people. They're not supposed to know what they shouldn't. Well, they're supposed to
You should have
have some.
you go on
They should have.
LinkedIn after. and seeing if she was applying for another job or something. If she was like open to work.
Well, I hope not. So I do genuinely feel bad at times when we do stuff but
It's
you
the
gotta look at the
same
wider picture.
with when you're doing physical assessments, right? Because PwC, there was a number of physicals, and you always go there, and you're like, oh man, like this person's gonna get sacked afterwards in the
Yeah,
report.
yeah, you gotta just look at the wider picture because it could have been anyone. Anyone could have a bad day.
I want to ask you. You mentioned that you tested a zero trust network recently.
Yeah,
Not many people I know have actually done an assessment. Was it a red team or was it a pen test on there?
it was a red team.
So yeah, I you're the only one I know who's done a red team on a zero trust network. What is the experience? What is it like?
I think first thing I'm gonna put it out is we gonna have a blog post out by end of this month, which is on zero trust. So that the aim
Make
is to
sure you
share
tune
that
in.
knowledge. Sorry.
Make sure you
Um,
guys tune in.
Yes, definitely. But the aim is, as you said, like when I started researching about zero trust, there's not enough information out there. There's very very few blog. There are some. There's a few talks. There's a very few blog posts, but it's not by far enough for someone to just read and get gauge of it. And we made mistakes. We did something right, something wrong. So the blog post is going to talk about it. So that is, and we're also actually releasing a tool that helps a little bit. So that the both are coming. Hopefully by end of the month, if not, and at the latest some point in July, it will be out there. Um, Testing zero trust was a very unique experience. I think you had to think really out of the box, and it was not just thinking out of the box in terms of how do I get in the company, but it also was what is actually valuable to a customer, right? Like zero trust is, there's no point of doing lateral movement and stuff like that, right? So once we even got on the laptop, we're like, what do we do from here? Like, where are we trying to get? Like, it was just a different. It was a lot of bouncing ideas. To be honest, the client we worked with was they're very security mature as a customer, and I don't mean like their internal security. Like behind that, we destroyed them in the first red team. But the client itself was very understanding, and we had loads of sensible conversation. And it actually took us a decent while to understand what brings value to them in terms of zero trust. What would they like to see being compromised and what is not compromised?
Yeah.
I personally think zero trust is a very interesting concept, and it's very hard to implement correctly, especially if you are existing company moving towards zero trust instead of building from scratch for a new
So
company.
that is what I was going to ask you, because it sounds like that client had like the same ecosystem and had built it from scratch, right?
Yep, yep. They
Whereas organizations who are moving to this model have got like, I don't know, AWS is your, on-prem.
yeah,
Now you're trying to mix all these technologies and say you're at zero trust, and you're authenticating different services. And I don't know, it seems like there's always that gap, isn't there, that someone's
yeah.
misconfigured some shit and that
It's
gonna get in.
it's really weird to be honest, man. I personally struggle a little bit to understand this hybrid zero trust but on-prem normal infrastructure. Like it's in my head, I can't comprehend how is this going to work and how is it making company more secure. I think having a hybrid is worse than having either or. That's just my very personal opinion. I may be wrong. I have not come across enough clients that have done hybrid, so my opinion is very based on one or two engagement at the moment. Even with zero trust, I think I find it like once you can fish a user, if you can do phishing properly, you are in trouble. I think like I as zero trust as a concept is amazing, but I just think it's from a security perspective, I just think it's broken because it's if you can do phishing, if you can do really mature phishing, it's game over at that point. You fish 10 different users from 10 different company, and the idea of zero trust is they should be able to access their email and websites and application from anywhere. They're not constrained and things like that. So if you can fish and bypass 2FA, it's game over essentially. um, so I kind of
and
struggle to
and and the hope that it was implemented and deployed correctly, right?
yeah, exactly, and that makes it even harder, right? Like uh, we did definitely have some, and I'll give credit to one of the senior red teamer in the team, Wes Lerenshaw. Um, he found some of the, he found some amazing way to do some enumeration, man. I'm like, how did he even think of that? Like,
We're waiting for this
absolutely.
blog post, Dhruv.
I'm waiting for his blog post, man. So it's one of those projects where we have done red, purple, red. So there was the third time when we did it. We actually struggled a lot because we covered a lot of things in purple, kind of thing. But it was a good experience. I don't say I'm no expert with zero trust. It's something I definitely, as a team, I think we're gonna look into expanding more and doing a little bit more research. I think it's quite an exciting topic. A lot of the companies are looking to move into it, so it's gonna, we're gonna start seeing it a little bit more frequently. Um, I At the moment, I don't understand how it makes life more secure. It does in some sense, but it also doesn't in some sense. Actually, I don't think it's like one solution to the current cybersecurity crisis.
It's
You
not,
know,
yeah, it's not a silver bullet.
no, exactly, and it's been perceived as a silver bullet, which is a lot of
Yeah.
the CEO I speak with, I'm like I try and stay in touch with my client after we have done the project. So I recently had a client who came to me and said, just so I just want to have a call and discuss something, and went on the call, and it's like, so my IT is recommending that we move with this like partial zero trust on-prem AD, and he's like, it's gonna make us more secure and better result with the red team next time around, asking for like a couple mil investment to make this happen. And I was just like, I don't think that's the case. you know
Yeah. What, you implement it, watch me come around and plop it again.
I'm like, I'll be impressed if they manage to do it. And there are companies who have managed to do it. I'm sure. It's just very very hard to achieve. Maybe 10 years from now, it might not be.
Yeah,
And
I think it's too early right now to
it's
say. And
quite a
like,
immature other concept, for everyone. I think it's
yeah, and if you're building it from scratch, I know, like, for example, Google, they have their whole,
yeah,
ecosystem. They use that, and their whole ecosystem is Google. So, like, if you have
yeah,
Google and you're using all that, then yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it should work. But if you're mix mashing all this technology and you got legacy stacks and
yeah,
whatever it may be,
exactly.
then you're like, hey, who's going to deploy it correctly? Are they going to take the liability that it was
Yeah, I
securely
know.
done? Are they leaving
Yeah,
creds everywhere as well?
yeah, 100%, man. It is definitely interesting times. I am gonna wait to see once I come across a zero trust where we just like struggle a lot. Um, but at the moment, I'm very double minded about it. There are things that I think it does great. There are things that it fails. If a client asks me which one it should be, I would say no zero trust as of now. It might change in future, because my opinion is based on two projects really, if I have to be honest.
Sure.
Um, but we'll see how it comes along. Maybe we'll have a
Invest your
podcast
budget
part
into
two.
Purple Team.
You never know. We'll have one of these talk again in a year's time, and maybe I'll have changed my mind. We'll see how that goes.
Cool. So something that you're not expecting, Drew.
Let's see.
So I've got like a speed round here, right? I've just
Okay.
basically made it up just before this, and maybe it will catch on, become a trend.
All right. Cool.
First, whatever answer comes to your mind, just spit it out, right?
All right.
Favorite cybersecurity book?
Network security assessment,
Oh
O'Reilly.
yeah, I've literally got that here. Look, you can
Yeah.
probably see it. Yeah, there.
And the Web Applications Hackers Handbook. I think they both are damn good at what they
From
do.
Marcus, right?
Yep.
Marcus Pinto. There you go. Plug for you.
Amazing book, amazing
He's
course.
literally there.
Yeah, I can see that actually. Yeah.
Right. Wait, Marcus is coming on next. I'll have to ring him and say,
Amazing.
Marcus. Yeah. Well, I have to ring him and ask him first, but
Okay.
we'll get him
Let's
on.
hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll come on. He'll come on. Right. So next one. Favorite cybersecurity course. Can be pen test, red team, whatever. The best course you've experienced.
Spectre Ops Adversary Simulation. But I think definitely one of the best courses I've been to. And I'll tell you why. It's not because, well, the course content is amazing. The slide deck that they provide you is again amazing. I think they only cover half of the presentation, so they give you this additional information that they don't have the time to cover. But it's there for your use and stuff like that. But the most valuable part of the course is people taking the course and how open they are to talk to you. It's likes of Hamjoy and Enigma, and likes people who actually find some of the weaknesses that we explore on day-to-day basis, and having that opportunity to get in the room and just have a conversation with them. Absolutely, I admire how down to earth everyone was on that course, and open to discussion and sharing knowledge. There wasn't a single element of I'm not going to tell you this because it's my top secret sauce kind of thing. By hands down, it's the people that makes the course amazing.
Add it to the shopping list. I've got a long list. Right.
Yeah.
Quickest time to DA, domain admin.
From initial access, 5 minutes.
Wow.
It was quite back
5
in the day.
minutes.
It was
How?
like three years
Responder.
back. Nah, it was group policy, C password.
Oh my
That was
God.
a DA.
Did you have a script for that, or how did you identify it that quickly?
So I don't do this anymore. So I highly recommend not to do this on a real red team at this given point. But about 2 or 3 years back when I started doing red team, one of the first things I would do was run survey CMD find C password in the group policy, syswall kind of location, and just look for C password as words.
If I had a siren here, I would have that on for you right now, because you're literally going in to a client environment with flashing lights and jingle bells all over the
I mean,
section.
it was back it was the day when you could use clap exec on red team. I wouldn't do that now, but
Yeah.
it was. I think the red team world has changed a lot in 3 years since when I started to when you do it now. Hands off to blue team have come a very long
Yeah.
way in last, like, during pandemic 2 years. I When I started this, I thought we have an upper hand. I genuinely do believe a good blue team has an upper hand right now, but that makes it more fun, right? It's just we haven't got it easy. So
5 minutes, still a record for me. I've never heard of 5 minutes before. All right,
but
biggest.
sorry,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna add, like, I think the quickest one was when we got initial access and every user was a DA, but I just think that doesn't count. That was just like,
What?
yeah,
I
every
know that probably hits the next question. Biggest infosec fail. Every user was a DA.
yeah.
Domain
Uh,
admin, for those who don't know.
Yeah, I think
How?
it was via nested groups. It was like, domain user was part of something XYZ, and that was part of something that was part of sysadmin, and that part was domain admin. Um, so yeah, but that was the biggest fail that I've seen.
That is going to be a tough one to beat. I've never heard of that either. Right. Favorite OSINT tool.
AMAS by far.
And I'm gonna share that right now.
Yep.
From OS.
Yeah. Really good tool. I think we use this as our base, and then we do more investigation on what we've got from here, and so this is like a good starting point for us as a team.
That's pretty good. Right, next one. Favorite red team tool.
Ooh, I have to say Cobalt Strike. Just how much we use it,
Oh,
can't really like not
like,
say it.
you should get sponsors
But
for all these guys, right? Help systems.
100%.
Almost right.
But actually, at the moment, it might also be Rubius. What it could do is, it's just too good, what it could do.
Right, and that was it, man. What do you think of the speed round?
That was really fun. Yeah, it did put me on spot a little bit. But no, it's quite fun. I think, yeah, I don't know how you're gonna. I think you should have like different questions for each one, or like different set at least, and rotate them. But it's actually quite interesting.
What are your tips
Yep.
for those looking to get into cyber?
I think the first and foremost thing I would say is do networking. I've said this a few times in the talk today, which is everyone in cyber, this is one thing I completely admire about is open to talk, share information, share their journey, give you resources and stuff like that. So reach out to people, talk to them, find someone you admire, find someone who you think is the path you want to walk, and talk to them on how they did it. Take guidance and so on. Second thing is work hard, but I would love to disclaim this with make sure you take care of your mental health. I think as an industry, have created this hype about if you want to be a good red teamer, if you want to be an ethical hacker or whatever, you need to work 15 hours a day, write tools, do this, do that. Yeah, it does help, but make sure you take enough breaks as well. Working harder is important, but it's equally or maybe more important to take care of your mental health and make sure you don't burn out. I think Manat, you and me both have been in places where we've been close to burnout, doing certificates, work 9 to 5:30, coming back home, doing certs or writing new tools, blog, doing this, and it's important to make sure you take breaks and and make sure you can focus and you're in a good state.
Yeah, infosec burnout is real. So look after
Yeah,
yourself. This is honestly, I've switched my routine to help with that and hit the gym in the morning, clear my mind, set the tone for the day.
yeah,
Whatever throws at me or whatever gets thrown at me, I'm like set. And I'm grounded. I don't know. I don't want to go into like motivational shit. You can probably see some books up there.
yeah,
Like, Miracle Morning is a good one if you don't know how to ground yourself.
yeah,
I did it because of things like infosec, and you're always trying to do so much. And honestly, I think we're like a unique industry where you're continuously developing, learning. There's so many people
yeah,
doing so many things. You're like, hey, I need
yeah,
to catch up with them. Whereas other industries, like, hey, I done my degree. That's it, man. I'm
yeah,
at the pub. Like, I don't know many
100%.
infosec people who spend their evenings in the pub. Like, we're
Yeah,
here, we're
100%.
grinding. Anyways, I'll give it back to you for some more.
Yeah, no, no, 100%. I think there's one thing that if someone asked me what I want to change about InfoSec would be to get rid of this stereotype that you need to work 24/7 to be a good hacker. Yes, you do need to work a lot, and there is all sort of there's a lot to learn. My Twitter is blowing up every day, and there's a lot to catch up with, but there's a right balance to be found. And for me, it is every now and then I'll go on a 2 or 3 day break when I just don't touch my laptop. I know I need to reset. Whenever I feel like I'm coming close to a burnout, take a day or two off, and do that. That's the second thing. For people getting into the industry, there's a lot of information out there in terms of certificate. There's a lot of uh, you know open source tool training available. Make use of it. I know we say OPSEC or OSCP is a really good course. I do understand it's also a really expensive course, and that's not the only way to start in the industry. um, you know there's so much out available. There's hack the box and whatnot. So make sure you make the most of it. And then lastly, for people or students in uni, especially international students who are looking for a job as well, again, I'll reiterate, network, speak to people. I used to speak to so many people when I was in uni. Some of them, come back to me, gave me some tips. Some of them just saw my email and ignored. And that, I've done everything from cold emails to cold message on LinkedIn to cold calling to going to conferences and giving out my card as a student. Anything and everything that I could do to find a job, I've done it. uh, it can be quite demotivating when you're not seeing the result, but just remember, it's going to take that one person to trust you and give you a chance, and so on. And everyone in the uni, I highly recommend take part in extracurriculum stuff. Take part in research with your professor. That's what's going to set you aside. No, being a good student is amazing, and getting a a distinction is quite nice. But what actually sets you aside in the industry, when especially for me when I'm doing interviews, and I do a fair bit of interview. The key thing I look is what have you done other than just studying at uni and doing your course, because that's where you actually learn, and that's something you're showing that proactiveness. So be proactive, and lastly, just have fun. And I think it's a very stereotype thing to say, but I think it is very important in our industry to love what you do and to make sure you're having fun. And if you're not having fun, you need to figure out, is it the place you are at, the people you are with, or what you're doing, and whatever it may be, the reason, make sure you address it.
Speaking about fun, you're going to be in Blackhat, right? In Vegas.
Yes, I am gonna be in Blackhat and DEF CON this year. So if anyone is going, leave a comment and we'll catch up. Reach out to me on LinkedIn and definitely love to
His
catch up
link will
there.
be in
I'm
the
sure.
description.
Yeah, appreciate that. I'm sure Manat, you're gonna be there as well. So we'll be there
Going
together.
to Blackhat. First time.
Yeah.
I'm going.
Yes.
I'm going to Vegas. First time in Vegas. First time Blackhat. First time DEF CON. But we will be
Same.
there. I don't know what to do. What do you reckon? Some Red Team Raw swag or something like that. We should go out there.
We could actually make a T-shirt or something. We could have you know what I want? A hoodie.
Really?
We could actually get a hoodie. I love the Red Team Raw logo as well. So
Stick it on a
we
hoodie.
could get yeah, we could do a hoodie or something.
At the back.
I'll do yeah, I'll put it on the back or something, and we can actually look into it. We'll do it.
Right. So if you're at Blackhat, right, if you want a hoodie, right, comment on this video and you're gonna be a Blackhat, I will give you a hoodie. If I see you in Blackhat
Yeah.
and you've commented below, I will give you a hoodie.
Yep. Sounds good.
It's happening.
Sounds
Right.
good. I will share that thought.
Right, Dhruv. Well, I appreciate all the value that you've shared with us today. If you guys are listening through and you've made it to the end, you're gaining value, smash the like buttons, hit subscribe. And Dhruv, you've been awesome, man. I can't wait to catch up with you. I'm sure we'll speak offline. But yeah, we're gonna be in Blackhat. It's happening.
Yeah. Definitely, and I really appreciate you giving me, hosting me here. Really nice to have this conversation and add back to the community. I think that's one thing that I really love to do is go and give back to the community. And thank you for taking time to arrange this. I know how much effort and I know you personally enough to know how much work you put in. So definitely, guys, smash the like button, share it, comment it. There's a lot of hard work that goes into this, and I can vouch for the amount of hard money it puts into this. So make sure you support
I
him,
appreciate
and
you, man.
we'll see you in Blackhat. And if you're in London, just reach out. We'll catch up anywhere in UK. I'm traveling fair bit, so we'll catch up. If you're in UK, just comment on the comment section, and one of us will reach out to you guys.
Yeah, man. If you're in London, you're in Central, we're like down the road. So hit us up, we go for some drinks. Honestly, keep it informal, right? There's
Yeah,
nothing
hundred
there,
percent.
there's nothing in it. Obviously, Drew's going around traveling. I like to stay within London. But it's all good,
Next
man.
year, I'm gonna have no more travel in 2023, or at least try not to travel like the
That's why
first
you
half
hit
of
an internal
2023.
role. That's why I hit in general radio. I was like, yes, I have a desk rather than traveling around. But cool, man. Like, I love having you. Love your energy as well. One of the biggest things that always stands out to me is just how hungry you are and your
Appreciate that.
proactiveness. So yeah, you're doing all the right things, man. You got big things, man. I don't need to tell you that. You already know it.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that.
Cool. Well, thanks for being here, Drew. We're gonna end it. Again, if you're listening in, you made it to the end, smash the like button. Comment below t-shirt or hoodie if you want a t-shirt or a hoodie. I'll do a t-shirt and a hoodie, and we'll see where we go. Cool.
Sounds good.